Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Q&Play. I'm on vacation as this video is going up, so yeah, if it's really rambly, that's probably why. But hey, this is the monthly show where I answer your questions in a rambly, unscripted format, so you know what? It makes sense. We're going to be taking some questions from last month because you guys popped off in that Pride Month post, so yeah. First question comes from Easiest CC. Could you maybe talk about how mental health could improve or destroy a D&D game in a Tavern Adjacent episode? Also, what's your favorite instrument that gets used in game soundtracks? Personally, I'm a sucker for the violin. I think it really creates a lot of memorable and emotional music. It's exactly why I love Xenoblade Chronicles 1, the soundtrack. Oh, it's the Xenoblade Chronicles guy. Great to see you again. Anyway, great question on the first one. I think mental health can absolutely improve, or if it's ignored, it can be a detriment to your game. I might talk about it in a Tavern Adjacent episode, but honestly, when I'm limited to 2 topics an episode, I kind of get kind of stuff with topics. So yeah, maybe there'll be a Tavern Adjacent topic in the future. I don't really know how much I could talk about it because I feel like that's kind of the theme of all of RPG horror stories. Like, you can get that message just from watching the normal show, but anyway, what's my favorite instrument in game soundtracks? I'm assuming you mean like general fantasy orchestral, because if we're talking about stuff like Cuphead, the soundtrack, that's a little different. But if we're talking something more fantasy, then yeah. If you got a good percussion section, in my opinion, you've got a great soundtrack. I mean, the percussion is just the backbone of what makes so much music so good. Like, many of my favorite songs are so good because of the percussion, even if I rarely bring them up when I'm complimenting the music, because percussion is just honestly something I don't usually think about, but it's always the most important part. If you leave out those guys on the drums, you'll lose out on so much of the tune. But yeah, there you go. That's my opinion on that. Next question comes from Monta G. Happy late Pride, Crispy. Question to all the DMs out there like myself that struggle with encounters being too easy. What is your top piece of advice for making combat more fairly challenging? Great question. I actually was going to make an entire Tabletop Tavern Tips episode, an entire D&D advice episode about making challenging combat after the end of my second full multi-year homebrew campaign. But honestly, my number one advice is to get Flee Mortals. It's coming out soon, so I think that it's the perfect time. If you don't know, Flee Mortals is the book by Matt Colville and MCDM that revamps the existing D&D monsters into more challenging, varied, dynamic versions of themselves. It's probably the single most important D&D book I have ever bought in my life. It completely changed the way I DM, changed the way I run monsters. It is just perfection incarnate. So yeah, get Flee Mortals if you want to make combat more fairly challenging. But obviously, I shouldn't hold that behind a book purchase, so I'll give you some advice I took out from Flee Mortals. Number 1, weak minions that inflict status conditions are really important. Minions that bosses have don't always need to do damage. Sometimes they can inflict status conditions. For example, in Flee Mortals, if there's a bunch of zombies near you, your movement speed is reduced. Yeah, they're not doing a ton of damage, but they are having a major effect on the fight if the players are not controlling the monsters around them. Also, take advantage of the full action economy. Let villains do multiple things with their multi-attack, not just do damage, but also inflict some kind of status condition on the party. For example, Matt Colville's Lich doesn't just deal a lot of hit points and damage. The Lich can move you with a certain spell, make your attacks weaker with another spell, and then burn you slowly with a third spell, and cap it off by paralyzing a combatant with fear. It's brilliant. It's not just damage, it's the stuff on top of the damage. That's why I don't like the monster manual that much. It's just boring old dice clattering on the table. Sometimes they do different damage types. Ooh! But with Matt Colville's Flee Mortals, attacks do so much more. It's also going beyond the multi-attack. Use bonus actions. Use reactions. If they don't exist, add them on. Of course, you gotta be careful about this. If you give the monster too much to do, you might be too difficult. But if your players are trouncing everything, then test it out. Test the water. I would rather things be harder than easier every time. I want things to be challenging, because if my players aren't afraid, there's no tension, and therefore, for us at least, there's no fun. So yeah, try it out. Take advantage of the full action economy, use all the tools at your disposal, add some status conditions, and put the fear of God in your players in a fair way. Next question comes from Carpal Tunnel 286. Happy Pride. Question, is there a race in D&D, Dragonborn, Tiefling, Plasmoid, etc., that you refuse to play personally? I have no idea what Plasmoid is, so I guess that one. But yeah, anyway, I basically never play D&D. I'm a forever DM, and I prefer it that way. I mean, I'm an overworking control freak who's a bit neurotic. So, you know, DMing is a lot more my style, and I enjoy it a lot more, and on the good side. I love world building. I love creating stories for my players to experience. It's so awesome. And my players seem to really love my games, and it just encourages me to DM more. But if I ever were to play, I've noticed that there are definitely races I gravitate away from. For example, elves. I almost never make elves. Whenever I think of, oh yeah, I could play this person as a player character, elves never come up. You know, I've got Kalia Solfero, who is a human, Caroline, who is a changeling, and then Crumble, who is a goblin. I have a thing for sea names, I guess. I also can't see myself playing a gnome. I don't hate gnomes or anything. I just associate them too much with World of Warcraft. And I hate gnomes in World of Warcraft for the Horde. So, yeah, I feel like I've made my choice there. Honestly, there's not really a species in D&D I hate. There's not any that I despise, except Aarakocra, because I hate flying. Because I play on a VTT with a 2D map plane where flying is such a pain in the butt to keep track of. But, you know, there you go. That's it. Question from Dark Moon Eclipse 2463. Happy Pride Month, Crispy, and everyone in this comment section. What is the most broken magic item you or another party member have ever used in one of your campaigns, not including Deck of Many Things? Would you recommend it, even for comedic purposes? How would you nerf it to make it less game-breaking, but still fun to use? So, again, Forever DM. So this is an item I gave to the players. I'm trying to think of something that was broken. I'm happy to say that the vast majority of the time, my game is hard enough that giving them powerful magic items is not a big deal. But I think the most powerful magic item I ever gave to the players was either Nightmare Scream, a legendary item I gave to my rogue, or Edge of Inmost Light, a legendary item I gave to my monk. The rogue got a sword that does extra acid damage, does acid damage over time on a failed constitution saving throw, and turns the rogue invisible on kills, which is super powerful in my game since there's a lot of minions in my game, and minions in Flee Mortals die in one hit. So that makes the rogue excellent at crowd control, because if you attack from invisibility, you can attack with advantage if they can't see you with something like Blind Sight, for example. So that's a really powerful effect. It allows you to get constant advantage, constant uptime and invisibility, and clear out ads like it's nobody's business. And of course, she's a rogue, so that character with the sword, she's also good with taking out single targets. Then there's the monk with the Edge of Inmost Light. What this glaive could do was put down motes of light. These are little explosives that chain together in a big chain explosion if you put them all next to each other. Now, he needs to use his action to put these down, but if someone else triggers the explosion, I didn't realize how fast the damage could add up. It was a bunch of d8s plus 5, and against Vecna, because Vecna failed to save, and I forgot legendary resistance was a thing, Desna dealt 80-some damage in one turn with a bunch of motes placed down at Vecna's feet. I mean, it was epic. He rolled really well, but because I let him add dex to the motes, it was a lot of damage. Don't regret it, by the way. That Vecna fight still was long as hell, and if he hadn't done that, it would have been even longer, but still, it's a really powerful item. Maybe I shouldn't have added dex to it. I should have given it another bonus or something, maybe wisdom, or maybe just like a flat +3 instead of allowing Desna to add +5. But hey, it was the end of the campaign. If you're gonna give someone something broken, do it at the end, you know? And I don't regret it. Don't regret it at all. Especially since, like, Vecna had them down to, like, the last 2 party members. It was almost a TPK. I definitely don't regret it because of that. Alright, next question from a name that is just awesome. ThiccBoiNAction. Happy Pride, Crispy. Have you ever been tempted to make a 5th edition campaign based off a pre-established setting? Elder Scrolls, Dark Souls, Lord of the Rings, etc. If so, what setting and why? Not really, because I just love my homebrew World of Eris so much. I've spent years developing it. One of my friends asked me if I would ever consider jumping ship to another setting, and I laughed. And the entire party laughed too, because, I mean, it is so much work to create this setting. I put years of work into it and still not even close to done. And also, my players really like it. This setting is pretty good. I'm proud of how it's turned out. It's got a lot of really nice, typical fantasy elements and blends a lot of what I already love together. But you also have aspects of George R. R. Martin's more dark fantasy, along with some Lovecraftian aspects. There's even some sci-fi being tossed in with my next campaign. It's so much fun. It's so much fun, and I'm really impressed by how cohesive it's been so far. I mean, it's been years, and I've managed to keep it fairly straightforward, and my players are never confused about aspects of the world building. I've been proud of that, so I'm not tempted to jump off to another setting just because I'm really proud of where I am right now. But I will say, for like a spin-off campaign, maybe for a stream show, I was tempted to run D and Destiny, to run in the Destiny universe. God, the Destiny universe is so good. It's probably my favorite sci-fi universe ever. It's so well made, and even if right now Destiny's not in its best state, I still love the characters and the world building, and being able to play in that sandbox in some kind of TTRPG would be amazing. It's technically 5th edition, I guess, so it still falls within this question because it's D and Destiny, which is a 5th edition hack. But at the end of the day, learning a new system is a pain to me. I just hate reading, and I just don't have that much time. I also just don't really want to do stream shows right now. It's not my purview for this channel. I don't really know who would play it, since I know a lot of D&D YouTubers. I don't know how many of them play Destiny. And in terms of running it for my friends, again, not many of my friends play Destiny. And honestly, while Destiny's not the weirdest universe in the entirety of fiction, it's definitely not simple. There's a lot going on, a lot to explain. I mean, hell, the developers can't even properly do it for new players. So yeah, there's a bit of onboarding. It's not like a typical fantasy world. It's this weird sci-fi space opera. So yeah, I think there would be some problems there. Maybe one day, but not right now. Right now, I'm happy where I'm at. All right, next up from Missspectra. Happy Pride, Crispy. We love you. Thanks. Okay, the question is, I've been a former DM for a long time, but I'm completely burned out and don't enjoy it anymore. However, I also don't want to stop playing tabletop RPGs. My friends seemingly want to step up, but also seem to not want to. Is there a way to help them come out of their shell and actually give DMing a try? So, I have never been in this position, because like I said, I love DMing, but if I were to try to encourage some of my friends who are interested in DMing but never had the courage to step up, I would encourage them to run a one-shot, and I would help them to prepare. I don't know if I'd play in the one-shot I help to prepare, because I don't know, I feel like that opens me up to metagaming, but I do want to help my friends DM as much as possible, and usually it's just that first step, you know? They don't know how to prep the games, they don't understand, like, the intricacies of the sessions itself. Sometimes they just need that first step. One of my friends, Ethan, started running his own D&D game, and he just started running because he saw some of his favorite Let's Players playing the game and thought it looked fun, and he just needed that first step. We had a call, and I just answered some of his questions, and then he had a session, and apparently it went pretty well. I think the simple act of answering the questions they need answered is great, and giving them some guidance in running that first session. Prep is so important, especially when you're new. Everyone thinks they can just wing it. And yeah, some people can, but I think there's a lot more people who can't than can. And some people who think they can simply can't. However, at the same time, prep is also a bit of a hurdle sometimes, and that means that having some help is so awesome. So yeah, if you want to give your friends that first step into DMing, help them DM for the first time. Give them some direct assistance if they want it. Encourage them a little bit. Start with something small though. You don't want them dedicating to a full campaign, and see where it goes from there. I mean, you could also LFG. No, that works too. Next question from 9X Lycos. Do you like Magic the Gathering? No. Next question from DuckSteps647. How did you know you were not straight and asexual? So, unfortunately, my education into other sexual orientations, it didn't exist. So for the longest time, I was extremely confused about who I was, who I am, and that was definitely unfortunate. Going through elementary and middle school, I never really thought much about romance at all, but once I got to high school, I started to think about it a bit more. Like, I started to get worried. I was thinking to myself, why am I not feeling anything towards anyone in particular? I feel like at this point, I should be getting some sort of romantic partner, whether it be a guy or girl, whatever. I feel like something should be happening right now, and nothing was happening. I wasn't feeling anything particular about any sort of person. I did try dating, and this one particular person was literally perfect in every way. She was nice, she was funny, we had similar interests, she loved my sense of humor, which, you know, that's definitely a plus. We got along really, really well, but put simply, I didn't feel any different about her than I did with any of my other good friends. Was I just in love with everyone? And that's when I finally learned about asexuality. I wasn't feeling anything in particular towards someone who is just absolutely perfect, who I would love to be a best friend, but I don't want anything more. And that's when I really started to get those gears turning. I finally learned about being ace. I finally learned about what that meant. And over a pretty long period of time, I started accepting who I am. It sucks because I learned about being ace through a television show, through Game of Thrones. I learned about asexuality indirectly through Varys. I was looking up what Varys meant by not being attracted to anyone, and then I learned about asexuality from there. I don't think that's the ideal way. I hope in the future we open ourselves up more to educating people about other orientations, showing people that it's okay to be different and how you could be different, because it would have saved me from a lot of confusion if I didn't need to learn about my sexual orientation from a fantasy drama. That's also part of why I'm so open about myself on this channel. I don't want to be too open to the point where it opens up parasociality, but I do want to talk about my sexual orientation because I want to show people that if I'm open to it, if a hermit like me can be open about it, can talk about it, that means you can too. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not be straight. It's all good. Hopefully, maybe this has helped some people to come out. I've gotten some stories about that. And you know what? Every single person, even if it just helps one person, in my opinion, that's worth it. So yeah, there you go. I know that last question was a bit late for Pride Month, but in my opinion, it's never too late to be supportive. In any case, if you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our RPG horror story series where we cover the best and worst of Dungeons & Dragons. And while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own questions or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment Hypixel to reference the game I'm playing in the background and let me know you made it to the end of the video. And that's like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.